Hello, students. Today, I am so happy to be able to talk to you about etheric cord cutting and how we form these attachments that sometimes are not healthy. Sometimes we form these attachments through past lives, or we might also form this attachment with toxic people around us. So today, I'm very glad that we get to talk about this um, preoccupation of mine, really. I always been really interested since I heard a legend about something called the red thread. It's a Chinese legend on how we create this invisible red thread through every person that we meet, especially the longer the relationship with a person, that being a friend, a family member, a lover, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter, whatever relationship you got with that person, obviously tends to be generational, tends to run in groups, tends to happen because of past lives or contracts, what we call a soul contract. So let me tell you a little bit about etheric cord cutting in particular. So, anyone who works with other people, either professionally or by offering unpaid acts of kindness, should know about etheric cords and how to handle them. Basically, whenever a person forms a fear-based attachment to you, such as being afraid that you're gonna leave, or believing that you are his or her source of energy or happiness, a cord is constructed between the two of you. Now, this is visible to anyone who is clairvoyant. Of course, you can tell when, some people get to be obsessed about someone. This especially happens in toxic relationships. Um, or they might go after someone they believe that it might be good for them because they need them. Obviously, this is an exterior form of fulfillment. But in addition of being palpable to anyone who's intuitive, you can also, the person that is forming this attachment also sometimes has knowledge of what's going on. And this is why in other videos, as I was talking of my experiences of being a physical therapist and massage therapist, I was telling you that when you're giving a massage to a new client or a person, you're forming really an attachment. You're going into their aura, you're going into their energy. You're able to feel, and sometimes you pick up some of this energy, that being a good energy or bad energy. So definitely, if you're in any kind of healing profession in which you're dealing with polar therapy or massage therapy, you need to be aware of this. So the cores resemble surgical tubing. They're invisible and they function like gasoline hoses. So when a needy person has formed an attachment to you, that person suctions energy from you through this etheric core. Especially, I wanted to stop here and talk to you about if you're an empathetic person, you might feel a drain of energy when you get closer to some people. Sometimes, it could happen that you're doing the same thing to somebody else and you're not even noticing that, depending on your mood or if something happened in your day. So this is something that you also have to be aware of, that when we're talking about other people, it might just be you also doing it. I know that in popular culture, this has been called, somebody's a vampire. It's a toxic person in this. It kind of drains your energy to be around them. Um, this is very popular now in our culture too. In psychology, I know there's a phenomenon. I don't know if you have gone online, but either myself and others that are, micro YouTubers, were also talking about narcissism, because narcissism and emotional abuse, it is now an epidemic in the United States and globally. But we're going to talk about the United States obviously because we live here. But this is a global epidemic in which people are not valuing interactions anymore. They're pretty much, they're calling relationships investments. I invested this so much time in this relationship, and they know that the relationship is toxic, but they'll continue to be in that relationship either because these kind of attachment have been formed. So when a needy person has formed an attachment to you, the person, like I said, suctions energy from you through this etheric core. You may not see it, but you can definitely perceive its effects, namely feeling tired or sad without knowing why. And it is the person at the other end that has just drawn on your power or sent you toxic energy through the core. So it doesn't mean that, you have to be in the same room with that person, and you don't even have to be close with that person, because this etheric core goes through the vibrational field, the matrix. So you don't have to be close to that person to experience this. Additionally, if you got a cord to someone who's angry, then that fury energy comes tumbling down straight into your body. So you might have sharp and pinching pains without any organic cause. And, a lot of this happens too with people that have suffered trauma. Especially when a person has over their lifetime suffered different kinds of trauma and a huge amount of trauma. This tends to accumulate. In psychology, I do believe they have a number for this and then a specific name for this, but pretty much they're called trauma cause. I believe it's called ACE. When you're talking precisely about school children that have experienced trauma. So anytime you have helped someone or whenever you feel lethargic, sad, or tired, it's a good idea to cut your cords. If you have had relationship with perpetually angry people, or if you feel sharp pain, then it's time to employ this technique. You aren't rejecting, abandoning, or divorcing this person or persons by cutting these bonds. You're only severing the dysfunctional, fearful, codependent area of the relationship. I know that when it comes down to, for example, narcissistic or toxic relationships, putting distance in between you, even though we said that the etheric core is still there, um, and we can talk another day about narcissism and other, if you take some of my psychology or you see some of the videos I got on my Real Life Genius show, then you can see about some of these things. But putting distance, physical distance between you and the person when you have toxic relationship, it might be sometimes needed or required when this relationship has already done the tubes for you. So to cut your own course, however, because this is a spiritual, like I said, you're not rejecting, you're not abandoning or divorcing this person by trying to cut these bonds. You're only severing the dysfunctional, fearful, codependent area of the relationship. The loving part of it remains still attached. So you can say either mentally or aloud, Archangel Michael, I call upon you now. Please cut the cords of fear that draining my energy and vitality. Thank you. Then be silent for a few moments. Be sure to inhale and exhale deeply during this process as breath opens the door for angels to help you. You will probably feel cords being pulled out of you or being cut. In Hindu culture, and I have experienced this myself, it's called Kriya. If the relationship has been toxic, in which it has produced PTSD symptoms or some kind of sexual or emotional trauma, and and you do the Kriya breath, sometimes you will feel literally energy coming from the center of your body, from your solar plexus, releasing this energy. And you can't even get mentally or physically tired to the point that you have to go to bed, lying down. You can get nausea, headaches. So these also can have a physical part to it. So you have to also be aware of that. You're probably going to feel cords being cut or pulled out of you. You may sense air pressure changes or other tangible signs that the cord cutting is occurring. The people on the other end will think of you without knowing why at the moment and when the cords are being cut. Sometimes when this happens, they might call you on the phone or they might try to engage you through text, or Messenger, through Facebook, whatever social media that you're talking with them, just because when you do that, it's kind of like feeling like an emptiness, like something is missing. And they'll remember, they will have sort of like an intuition about you. Oh, let me call her or let me call him to check on them. So you might find that even when you get a lots of just thinking about your phone messages and emails from those that you were attached to. So don't buy into faulty beliefs about these people. And remember, you are not their source of energy or happiness. God is. The course will grow back each time someone performs a fear-based attachment to you. So you need to keep cutting them as needed. I know that in massage therapy, you can also do what is called a shield or shielding. Definitely, I recommend to do meditation and grounding before doing anything like that. But you can also do something like shielding and grounding. I'm going to try to find some instructions on how to do that, but basically you're doing it physically. Some people can do some what we call dowsing with incense, in which you take the incense and you kind of put it through the front of your face and through the back of your neck to trying to let the etheric course go. If you're a Wicca believer, we also have um, some spells on how to cut the etheric course, and in which you can put a boiling pot of water and put a few drops of olive oil. When the water is boiling, you want to turn off the stove, and then you want to get a needle, and with the needle you're gonna pop all the, if you see air bubbles forming, and of course you're not going with the spoon, you're not stirring anything. If you see bubbles forming, that means that somebody has had some kind of fear-based attached etheric cord. So you have to get the needle and pop each one and then say a prayer. So the different religions, different ways of cutting etheric cords. In massage therapy, normally you do a prayer before you enter somebody's etheric body or aura. Um, so these are some examples of how you can do that. Um, you can also cut other people's fear-based cords by calling upon Archangel Michael to do so, or by detecting them yourself. If you can see or feel cords by scanning the person's body with your spiritual sight and or your hands. So sometimes you can feel heat base. We do this also for massage therapy to find areas in which the person might have trauma. When a person has trauma, this leaves a memory imprinted in the muscle. It leaves also an etheric hole on that part of the body. And so that's where fear can enter through. And we already talked a little bit in other videos about the shadow self, but I just wanted to mention that. So sometimes people may resist cutting cords to someone they resent. The persistent anger or desire for revenge can keep a toxic relationship tied to them. In those cases, not even Archangel Michael can cut the cords. Like we said, that person might form, especially this happens in romantic relationships in which there's a toxic relationship. One person left, normally the abuser, the emotionally abuser, left the other person um, confused and hurt and depressed to the point almost of suicide. And it has had a shadow attached to that person, either being a male or female, doesn't really matter. Um, and so what happens, this can only be, like I talk in other videos, can be helped with meditation. It can be helped with socialization, because a lot of people tend to think when they're depressed they're going to stay home. That's actually the worst kind of thing that you can do. You just have to push yourself to be out there a little bit every day. Um, so um, in those cases, biofeedback might help. Cognitive therapy, talking to a psychotherapist, or even hypnotherapy might help. Um, because this pain, if continue, is going to manifest itself, especially for fear traumatized victims. And normally in children manifest as, nightmares, night terrors, abandonment issues, crying, defiance in school, behaviors that normally haven't been normal for the child before. In adults, absenteeism from work might be one of the first signs. Not wanting to enjoy like socialization with other adults, not having enough relationships, or that either friends. So how to help with this will be obviously talking with a hypnotherapist, because there might be also not only psychological things behind it, but it might be some issues that have to do with self-esteem, because especially in narcissism, a lot of the victims of narcissism can feel like they're not worth it, suicidal, like I said, loss of self-esteem, not wanting to enjoy things that they once enjoyed. So the all of these is related. Some physical symptoms can be shown as cancer, physical disease of some kind, normally that goes into the main organs. Um, in most occasions, it shows as forms of fibromyalgia, headaches, especially if the angels are trying to heal you, that you can have nausea, headaches, um, and kind of absences. Sometimes absences, I call absences when which palliative medicine talks about, sort of like a ischemic stroke, in which the person feels like it's kind of like falling out. Like for a few seconds only, it's very brief, might feel like it's falling out, or um, being like he's about or she's about to pass out, but it's not just standing in the same place, sort of like an absentee of being in that present moment. So, so you need to talk and walk your client, if your client experiences any of this, through the individual cord cutting procedure. And as you discern each one, your intuition will tell you whom it is attached to. You may get a general impression. So, like for example, when a client comes in, you might feel that this a cord is attached to a man, or to a loving relationship, or that has turned toxic. Or maybe the cord feels like it's attached to your father, to your mother. Um, for children, I used to do, normally children have a lot of more imagination. Children might have this kind of preoccupation in extreme cases in which there is some kind of disease, mental disease, or emotional trauma that has been for a long time perpetuated. And I'm a fan of Harry Potter, and one of the things that really help children is to tell the subconscious, then to be able to tell the subconscious things, because the subconscious is the one that is a survival mechanism. So like I said, kids and children and some adults and myself like Harry Potter. And so the Harry Potter, they have wands that are made out of plastic. Obviously we know that they are not real as adults, right? But however, children, they enjoy to have the feeling of the wand in their hand. And as far as a form of therapy, behavioral cognitive therapy, I used to, just to give an example, um, uh, be able to do, on the air with the one, like, okay, where do you feel the pain, on my arm. So you kind of tell them, okay, do the sigil of the owl. You teach them you do your own sigils, or things that they have to do, movements with the wand, and that what you're actually doing, in addition to putting that in memory, made them have self-confidence, made them feel special, is they're actually creating and discarding some of those etheric cores, so they have an alter ego of themselves, protecting them of those thoughts that might be negative and intrusive. So this is something that you can do if you're a hypnotherapist and you have children that and if you're licensed, obviously you have to be licensed too as a psychologist, or as a family therapy psychologist, to be able to do science psychology things. So make sure that you don't break the laws and regulations of your state. But you can say to your client, for example, take a deep breath and be willing to release all toxic energies related to however person. So you can say the name of the person or the title of the person to whom the cord is attached. So you have to be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. And you keep repeating this while supporting your client's process and deciding to let go of this old anger. Sometimes this stays a while. Eventually, everyone chooses reconciliation. The truth is that if you're in your mind going over something constantly, this only creates poison and in your mind, and it keeps getting worse. And it will become much more difficult to go of the anger, and the clients get into this blaming cycle and thinking, and so they're no longer in the present, they are in the past, re-traumatizing themselves. Now this is popular with breakups just because there's always in a breakup one person that obviously didn't want the breakup to happen, and normally that person tends to go over what went wrong, why did he left, or what did she left, or what could I have done wrong, or even going to new places. Oh, I used to go there with him or with her, and and remembering flashes. So all of that is re-traumatizing. You're relieving the trauma again of that happened. This can happen also with PTSD, soldiers that re-experience traumatic experiences because of being in the battlefield, or for females, that have suffered military or sexual trauma abuse, or MAS. So you want to support your client and think of yourself as a shepherd for peace, gently and coaxing your patient in that direction. Now we're going to talk about addiction, cord cutting, which I was telling you before. Addiction, I have put here the picture of a bottle. Alcoholism is an addiction. However, there are many kinds of addictions. You can be addicted to a person, you can be addicted to a behavior, you can be addicted to drugs, you can be addicted to sugar, you can be addicted to alcohol or caffeine. So this is addiction cord cutting is a very effective method for reducing or eliminating cravings for addictive substances, as well as destructive behaviors, and it can be used in conjunction with the 12-step and other recovery programs. So you can use the following for yourself or read it aloud to another person. So I'm going to try to read that so you can have a record of it. So you begin by thinking about any addictions that you feel completely ready to release. And this is only going to work if you truly want to let go of them. And they can actually did in Alcoholic Anonymous the same thing, that if you're going through a weight loss program, they always tell you the first question they ask you is, are you ready to make this change? Because they know that There are difficult addictions to break, and if you're not ready to make the change, if you don't really believe that you can at least like try and start, a new life, a new lifestyle, it's not probably going to work. It's not going to stick. So next, you are going to imagine that the addictive items or symbol of the situation are sitting on your lap. Notice the web of cords connecting them to your body, especially around your belly button. These are the attachments of fear, wherein you believe that you need these addictions. Now call upon the archangels Michael and Raphael to dissolve these cords and cut away your addictions to heaven for transmutation and healing. Keep breathing and hold the willingness to completely release these dependencies. Focus upon how wonderful you feel to be free of controlling cravings. Know how much more time, energy, money, and self-esteem you now have as a result of making this helpful decision. Once you have felt a big release, Archangel Raphael will send his emerald green light through your severe cords. As you inhale deeply, you draw this healing energy into your body. This is actually what you have been craving, because it is God's love and light. That is really what you have been desiring and trying to attain through your previous addictions. Drink in as much of Raphael's healing energy as you want, as there is an unlimited supply for you and everyone else. Any form of emptiness and anxiety is now lifted away, and you are at peace. You thank Raphael and Michael for this healing. I know this is called in hypnotherapy guided imagery, and this can be really helpful in releasing addictions. I hope that you learned something new today. Thank you for continuing to support me through my videos, and I see you on the next lesson in which we're going to talk about vacuuming.